Welcome back, everybody. I am very excited to welcome Gavin Stenhouse to the show. I've been watching him, including yesterday evening when episode 7 came out on CW's Kung Fu. Please welcome Gavin. It's a pleasure having you.
Thank you so much for having me, Alan.
Listen, when I was, again, I'm a fan of the show, obviously, and we'll talk about the show soon, because it's not just a great show, but you're tackling very important issues and you're doing them in a very interesting way that doesn't preach, but allows people to kind of understand the environment and scenarios and the players and the feelings of the people. So I love the show for many reasons, but it's the people on that show. Like, I literally, every time I see Taima, I just want to hug him.
Yeah.
I'm
He's like that in real life as well.
That's one of my questions. I was hoping that he's like that because obviously I've seen him, in everything for the past 20 some years, and he's been doing it far longer than that. But like, is he like that in real life?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. He's so approachable and supportive and just an awesome dude. And also just an inspiration as well, because he's like a font of knowledge and wealth of activism. He's been so vocal about the anti-Asian American and Pacific Island hate crimes. And he, during the initial stages of the lockdown, he launched something about Wash the Hate hashtag on Instagram, which was awesome. He's just someone who you can sit down to listen to speak and feel like you've walked away from, a university presentation by a professor. He's incredible.
Yeah, he's one of the people, and again, as an actor, I know that, I try to get into my zone, I try to get into my space, I try not to worry about, who are the people, but there are some actors that I think I may just be sitting in the middle of the scene and just watching. And I may blow takes just by that. So time for me.
For sure. So,
anyway, as I was doing some research on you, I came across some very interesting things for me that I didn't expect. First of all, and again, tie into tie, both of you were born in Hong Kong, which I realized. So that's very cool. And then I was going to be asking you about martial arts because this is a Kung Fu show. And you have martial arts background, and you are a fellow brother.
Oh, nice.
So as soon as I saw you were mentioning all the different martial arts that you were into, and you mentioned eskrima.
Eskrima.
That's what I do twice a week, or I try to.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, you've been doing it for longer than I trained at the this academy in London called Bob Breen Academy, and Bob trained under Guru Dan Inosanto. And so, he did a lot of eskrima and Kali, and I definitely tried to get into it. It's definitely hardcore, and it's such an amazing area of the world to, prior to moving to London, I didn't really have much exposure to Southeast Asian martial arts, and then it was that school, and also I shot a film in Malaysia and ended up staying there for a couple of years, and I was exposed to Silat and some of the other art forms down there, and it's just so it's a very rich and vibrant culture, and it's a very rich and vibrant expression in the martial art, especially the whole concept of the close combat eskrima explosiveness. I love that about it, the speed and explosiveness, and watching videos of Guru Dan just exploding with these sticks. I was like, that's amazing.
It's ridiculous. Guru Dan is a part of the school kind of lineage, right? So the school that I go to is JKD and Kali, cool. And a number of other areas like Rambaliki and a few things put in, but the first thing that we do is grab the sticks, right? I'm used to, in my former, other martial arts schools, it's open hand, it's hand-to-hand combat, and then you progress to weapons. In Filipino martial arts, you start with weapons. And thankfully,
because everyone has a machete.
Pretty much, or some sort of a knife hidden, behind the back. So thankfully, I've hit myself, a number of times. I have not been hit yet by somebody else, which means that our instructors are really good. But these are, these are hard bamboo sticks. They
Oh yeah.
hurt,
Oh yeah.
and when you're doing the heaven six or you're doing any of these things and you don't properly chamber and you're really going close to your face.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
But you said that you weren't exposed to some of the Asian martial arts before, but you spent the first 10 years in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
And your first martial art, you said, was Taekwondo in the
Yeah.
interview that I was watching. So there are two questions in that. Number one, in Hong Kong, your first martial art was Taekwondo. That's number one. And then number two, what do you mean you weren't exposed to Asian martial arts? You were living in Hong Kong.
I know. I think that ITF and WTF, the two kind of schools of Taekwondo, were just in the early 90s, were just kind of hitting like a mass popularity. So I think that Taekwondo in particular, there were just studios popping up, and it just happened to be that the martial arts studio that was closest to me I grew up in Hong Kong. I grew up in an area called the New Territories. So it's not, it's very kind of countryside-y.
Okay.
And so even though in the park, you'd always see people doing Tai Chi, as a youngster, like I think I was more attracted to the explosive nature of martial arts. And at that time, I hadn't really, I'd never seen kind of the Chen family style of Tai Chi, so like kind of the faster, explosive Shaolin stuff.
Yeah.
So, and I was like 5, I think, when I started. So it was the schools, the option was either karate or Taekwondo. And I just, I loved the kicking style of Taekwondo. It's maybe not necessarily the most kind of functional of like street martial arts, but it's really beautiful to watch and beautiful to train. And I loved doing kicks and stuff, and jumping kicks and spinning kicks. And so I think had I watched films like, I don't know, more of the young Bruce Lee films, or the like Shaw Brothers, like Chinese kind of martial arts movies at an earlier age, I think maybe I probably would have searched that stuff out. But I just fell into Taekwondo and just ended up going through the belt system in that. I didn't get very high. I think I got to like blue belt or red tag or something like that. It was really fun nonetheless.
Yeah, Taekwondo is awesome. Again, I'm 46, so Bruce is how I started, and then it was Van Damme. So all of the kicks, the splits, the splits between the chairs, I was doing that. I was working at a grocery store, and the way that I would train is I would take the carts that I had to park, and I would try to do the splits between the carts.
That's amazing.
So as they were pulling away. So I got my splits. That's how I went through high school. People thought I actually knew what I was doing. All I was doing is just doing the splits between the chairs. So
you were doing the Van Damme Volvo truck trick before it had even happened.
Not as well executed, but I was. That was me. So I'm totally with you on the beauty of Taekwondo. But so you started with Taekwondo, but then you progressed and you did a bunch of other martial arts. So walk us through that.
Yeah, so I was doing Taekwondo until I left for college for university in London. I went to a drama school that's kind of attached to a university, but it's not really a university. And in London, I lived in an area called Brick Lane. And there was a big, vibrant capoeira community at that time that were in Brick Lane that would meet every weekend, and they'd do a roda, which is like a circle, and they'd play capoeira for hours. And I was walking along Brick Lane and I saw that once, and I was like, that is so cool. I want to know what that is. And then I found the group that was training, and I went and trained with them for quite a few years, like four years.
Nice.
And under Maestro Fantasma. I think he has his master status now, but his name was Simon, and he ran this awesome capoeira group, and it was a really wonderful community. And I also loved the language of capoeira. That was another, like, it kind of led me into Portuguese and Brazilian Portuguese. And so I happened to be dating someone from Portugal at the time, and had been to north of Portugal and had been learning Portuguese, and it kind of intertwined because there's a lot of singing in capoeira, and sometimes you don't know what you're singing about, and it just happens to. And also a lot of the visiting teachers that would come over from Brazil and Sao Paulo would not necessarily have the best English, so it'd be nice to be able to converse with them in Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. So yeah, I did capoeira for a while, and then I stumbled into the Bob Breen Academy, which I think one of my brothers was going there for a while. I moved from Brick Lane to slightly further north in London, in a place called Hoxton, and yeah, I started going there, and that's when I was. That's really when I was introduced to JKD, and you know, Muay Thai was probably the thing that attracted me most to that school, and I had a great teacher called Owen Ogborn, who was like a several times British kickboxing champion, and yeah, he was awesome. And I trained Muay Thai for maybe a couple of years after that, and that was really the one where I was like, oh, this is cool. I love the elbows, the knees, the close combat nature of it, but at the same time, it had that kind of not that dance, but that game of chess that you find in Western boxing when you're sparring. I feel like in other martial arts, or at least the level I got to with like Taekwondo, it's more about what you think they're going to do, and then computing how you're going to counter it and planning your move. Whereas in Western boxing, I found myself far more in the present moment, trying to just be and deal with the hits as they came, as opposed to trying to figure out, okay, I can see he's doing this kick several times, I'm going to try and do this. Do you know what I mean? Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. I've had lots of actors and martial artists on the show, and I've actually devised my own curriculum, or in addition to an acting curriculum, where I think the being in a scene and being in the ring, especially with Muay Thai or boxing, is very similar. You have to be present, you have to be focused, you have to be really into what's happening with the person across from you. I think it needs to be a part of the curriculum for every acting education.
100%. Yeah. There's a quote in the Tao of Jeet Kune Do by Bruce Lee, which I'm sure you know, of course.
I have the book right here.
Oh, nice. I can't remember what page it's on, and I can't remember whether it's in the margin or whether it's in a paragraph, but there's a quote where he says, art reaches its greatest form when devoid of self-consciousness. And I think that's building on the idea from or at least I read it in the Hagekuri, where there's a story about how these 4 levels of consciousness come about. Initially, it's unconscious incompetence, when you're not familiar with the skill at all and you don't know how to do it. And then there's conscious incompetence, when you start to learn. You know what I'm saying? When you start to learn, and then you see your flaws. And then there's conscious competence above that, where you understand the art and you know what to do given a certain situation, but you're still thinking about it. And then the final form is unconscious competence. And that's when, it becomes so much a part of your fluid nature that you don't have to think about it anymore. And I think that quote from Bruce has always inspired me with regards to acting, because I'm someone that has to learn my lines. I know there are other people that don't like to over familiarize themselves with lines because they don't want to ruin the magic of the discovery of the scene in the moment. I've worked with people that don't like rehearsing because they want to discover it then, and I totally understand that. But I'm someone who needs to know my lines back to front. I need to be able to do the hoovering, do the vacuum cleaning in my house, and run the lines. Then be so much a part of I'd be so familiarized with the rhythm that I can then get to set and play around and not be thrown off by some crazy direction that might be thrown at me. I need to be able to know them back to front so that I can play in the moment. And I think that is expressed in that thought from Bruce, where, when he said art reaches its greatest form when devoid of self-consciousness. I always need to get to that place of no self in order to really play.
I'm with you, by the way. And the whole discovery I actually find, piggybacking on that, I find that when I know the lines, I kind of throw them away at that point. And
Mm.
then I'm discovering myself and I'm just being myself in the moment. And lines are somewhere in there and then they come up at the right time. But if I don't know the line, I'm in my head. I am planning, okay, yeah, he's about to say this. I'm going to say that. And then there are too many things going on and I can't be present. So that's what I found. So for me, I have to know the lines. I have to practice. There are all sorts of different, ways that you can do. For me, what works well is if I have, something in the morning, at night, I'm going to run them. And then by the time I wake up, they're already somewhere in there. I don't know why it works really well to do things at night, because in the morning, it just finds its neural pathway. But I'm the same way. So, and then in terms of martial arts, I am definitely not at the 4th level, but
Me too.
it comes through where we'd be practicing a technique. And then before I'm realizing I'm doing something and I wasn't planning on doing it, but it's a combination of muscle memory and just your body wants to do this. And I'm like, wait, oh yeah, I did that. Why did I do that? And it's like somewhere in there. And that's the unconscious part that, is at that level. I am far away from that level, but it comes through in things that you just don't expect.
Yeah, I find that because I actually haven't done martial arts in such a long time, but I do find it in rock climbing. There's this phrase that's thrown around in rock climbing called flow state. It's not exclusive to rock climbing. I mean, it can be applied to anything, but rock climbing has a very similar dynamic to martial arts when you're sparring with someone, in the sense that your life may not be in the balance, but it certainly feels like it sometimes. And you really get this impetus or this drive to just zone in on what you're doing. If you end up just focusing on your breathing, focusing on what tactile signals your body is telling you, and it becomes one of those moments where you get to the end of the climb in this instance, and you're like, how did that happen? What even happened? You don't even remember what happened. Yeah. And I know I've gotten to the end of some sparring matches where that has been the case as well, where I've just been like, wow, that was 3 minutes or whatever. What just happened? Yeah. Oh, he punched me in the face. My nose is bleeding. I don't even remember that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a lot of similarities between these, the martial arts, the acting, but also in rock climbing, because they're kind of mental games. They're head sports. Yeah. So much of it is about your mental state and how the mental game that you play with yourself. And yeah, I think it's fascinating that I have always been drawn to those things. Never really team sports, but pursuits or activities that have allowed me to zen, to find my zen. Yeah.
Very, very important. And speaking of Zen, you had one of the really good guys who practices it all the time. Gary Daniels was on in the last episode. He's playing Master Drake.
Isn't that cool?
It was awesome. Again, I grew up watching Gary Daniels in all of these movies, and he was always the one of the only white guys, and he had an amazing body and great flexibility. He was one of the people I was trying to emulate. So seeing him there, by the way, on Facebook, and Gary kind of did it. They probably cut it out because, again, the episode is only this long. But when Nikki walks into the dojo, he's actually starting to do a Chen style Tai Chi. And on Facebook, one of my Facebook friends put a video of Gary going through an actual Chen style Tai Chi session. So it's cool.
It's very cool.
I'm practicing Yan right now, and I'll work my way up to Chen, but it's definitely very, very cool. So Gary was on. I have to admit, I think Olivia is awesome, and she does have skill, but just the whole idea of Gary against Olivia, I couldn't put that out of my mind. I know him. I know how, this is the guy that literally has, I don't know, a 400 or a 200 pound bag filled with, tiny kind of metal pellets that he practices hitting on a daily basis, and he does that. I'm like, yeah, Olivia doesn't stand a chance. But okay, I'm taking that out of the equation. That just saying, okay, that's a character that he's playing. I'm good with it. But
yeah.
It was hard.
But she's magic, Alan. There's magic
there.
That's the revelation of the end of that episode. Is this?
I know.
Something going on. Maybe she did fly in that first episode.
Maybe she did, and now she is the right person to have the sword, and that's where the imprint comes from. So I actually there was again 7 episodes have been released so far. I know you guys are done with shooting all of it. By the way, congratulations on season 2 being picked up. That's very cool. So I'm not going to ask you questions of what's to come. I want to know it. I'm sure everybody else does, but we're not going to. So in terms of but I like the way that the series kind of set up, and there were flows where in, kind of the few episodes, you're like, well, where's the story going? How's the progression going to be? And then boom, in episode 7, okay, that's new. I like how this fits in even more. So I like the way that they're kind of pushing things along. So very nicely done so far.
Yeah. We've been, I mean, it's been such a privileged experience to work with Christina and Bob Behrens, who co-run the show. You feel like you're in safe hands with them, because they just, there are definitely, parts of scenes that just don't make the cut because of time. And I kind of wish that we had an hour-and-a-half slot to be able to just do everything as in long form, because there's so much. But the best part of working with them and seeing the final edits is that each scene, even if bits are cut here and there, that always encapsulates the heart of that scene. And I think that is something that I really love in our show, is that everyone delivers, not just in front of the camera, behind the camera. Everyone who works on it delivers to a point where I feel like the show just has so much heart. And it's very rare that you read a script, or you read a pilot in pilot season, and then you see the final product. Often it's very, very changed, and it's a different entity to what it was. But with this, I read the script and I kind of fell in love with the characters and the heart of the story. And at that point, I had no idea where the story was going. But when I saw the pilot, it was so faithful to the script that I just felt, wow, I've never seen that before. And I felt like that was something special. And that's gone on in every episode since. You read the episode and you think, oh wow, that's awesome. I wonder how they're going to edit this together. I wonder how it's going to look. And it just maintains or exceeds your expectations. And I think that's such a rare thing. So for the projects I've worked on, it's so rare to have that. That's definitely a privilege to be a part of.
Yeah, there is an immense heart in that show. That's one of the things I love about it. And dealing with hard issues, and dealing with what's happening, unfortunately, which pisses me off to no end, of the discrimination against Asians, and dealing and literally having episodes, and having an episode that deals with Black Lives Matter. The show is not shying away from things; it's dealing with it. Or how Shannon had to deal with the sexual harassment at work, right? Yeah. So all of these things, but it doesn't beat you over the head with it. It's really all anchored in that heart. So you walk away feeling sad but hopeful, and you really root for the characters in the show, and that's really one of the things that I agree with you completely. It's through every episode there is that heartbeat that keeps you going.
Yeah, we're very lucky to have the writers' room that we have, because it's clear from the very first draft, even if a script goes through many different draft iterations, like from the very first draft, it's very clear how much thought and passion and cursity, is that a word? so kind of semi jet lagged and making up words, but how much thought and passion goes into each one of those scripts. And the writers are incredible. And also as an actor, it makes you feel like you're in safe hands as well, because they consistently deliver something which is so meaty, and in a dramatic aspect, meaty and pithy to be able to work with, that it's a real exciting treat. Every time a script would come out, we've finished shooting now, but every time a script would come out, we've got a cast group WhatsApp, and every time a script come out, there'd be like a bleep on the cast WhatsApp going, the script's arrived, and then like half an hour later, someone's sped read it and gone, whoa, that's amazing, like mind-blowing, and we're just all in awe and appreciation of whichever writer has written that script that week. And it's very cool to have that much excitement every time the script comes out.
And speaking of the writers, I love meta things, and I love kind of references that people may or may not get. I mentioned this to you when we were chatting. In episode 6, when you were talking about Olivia, Nikki having 6 smiles, I'm like, that's going exactly or directly, potentially, because that's the way that I interpreted it. Right. It goes to Win a Date with Ted Hamilton. So do you know if that's the case, or they just kind of threw that on?
I don't know if that's the case, but I wouldn't be surprised, because again, all the writers are so well read, and I'm sure they're drawing out little Easter eggs here and there.
I hope so. And the funny part of that is I'm watching at the same time as I'm watching the show, because obviously, once a week it comes out. I'm also watching Jupiter's Legacy. So I am seeing, the actor whose name escapes me at the moment, who was the lead actor on Ted Hamilton in that series. So I'm like, that already is top of mind, and I hear the 6 smiles. Like, there we go. Hello. So that was it. And then I told you one more thing, which I was like, the first 3 episodes, I was looking at Olivia's smile. I'm like, I don't know who she reminds me of, but there is somebody that there's just something there that I know very well. And I haven't seen Olivia before. So I tried to figure it out. And then I watched, my kids are 16 and a half and 11 and a half. So we finally had them watch Avatar. And then I see Zoe Saldana. I'm like, that's it. So one of Nikki's 6 smiles is Zoe Saldana. So people, look it up. You'll know you'll see what I'm talking about. You'll see it. If I find the appropriate photos, I'll put them.
I will. I'll tell Olivia. I'm sure she'll be flattered.
Well, listen, she's a beautiful woman, but that smile was just so familiar to me.
It's funny when that happens, when you see something in someone, a quality of someone else that is familiar, and you're like, I can't place it. More often than not, I can't place things because I have a terrible memory. But yeah, it is funny when that happens.
It's one of the things that I do. It's like I see people, and I know, kind of what they are and who they remind me of. And it's not necessarily of the facial. It's more on the kind of the energy level. I know, and for me, it works. So when I tell people you look like this, sometimes they look at it like, no. And then once they start exploring, they're like, okay, I see where you're going. One question I know that you probably are not able to answer, but I cannot stop myself from asking. Knowing your martial arts background, and knowing that, I'm hoping Christina and everybody else knew that you have some martial arts in your background. Are we going to see Evan fight at all somewhere in this series?
That's a very good question. I can definitely say you may or may not have a moment where Evan's legal expertise is not enough to calm a situation, and Evan may or may not come out of it with a black eye or 2.
Got it. Perfect. We'll leave it at that. But as a martial artist, going at a show like Kung Fu where everybody is doing martial arts, almost everybody, right? Was there a part of you that said, okay, I want to train, I want to be with you guys, at least I want to be in the workouts if I don't get a chance to do it on screen?
Yeah, that's really funny. I love watching stunt crews work, and I love watching stunt crews train.
Yeah.
And the people who are the martial artists and the stunties that are part of those crews are more often than not extremely talented. So for me, knowing that it's been probably about 9 or 10 years since I've done any martial arts, the fear of pulling a groin or any other muscle would probably keep me away from training with them. But for me to be able to be on the sidelines and watch them do their thing is so amazing. You know, the men and women in our stunt crews are all, you know, in their free time when they're not training, they'll be on the training floor doing like flips and immensely complicated routines, whether they're rehearsing for an upcoming stunt or not, and seeing them get into harnesses and do wire work and the logistics that go into practicing wire work and executing the wire work is something that I am fascinated with. Like there was the guys that were running that were rigging the wires once had this little contraption which they would thread a rope through, and it basically was like a graduated friction contraption. So it was a stunt which we haven't seen yet, but it was a stunt where one of the characters, I have to be very careful, one of the characters goes very quickly at another character. I think that's vaguely enough, vague enough. Yeah, and so it's like a large acceleration and then a pretty large deceleration.
Yeah.
And so to accelerate that character, you rig them up and you basically pull really hard on a rope, but then to slow them down so that they're not jolted and it looks smooth and polished and rehearsed, there's this one little contraption where they threaded the rope through in such a way that it gradually slowed the person to a stop. I mean, gradually, it happened in about 2 seconds, but it slowed them safely. And my mind is blown by those kind of contraptions and behind the scenes techniques. And some of it is so simple as well that you just think, that's what you're using? Oh yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you use that? That makes sense. Yeah, so martial arts is very much in behind me. I would love it if Evan were to get into some scraps and brawls, because I think that one of the things you'll see with Evan and his trajectory over the first series is that, you know, he prior to Olivia Nikki crashing back into his life, he's very much kind of on track. He's finding his groove finally after so many years of being emotionally distraught, but he's finding his groove in his profession. And he's also very like idealistic, and he has a strong moral compass that he wants to do the right thing, but he wants to do it legally, and he wants to do it the right way, whatever that way may be. And over the course of the season, you'll see that Evan will get continuously frustrated with not being able to get the outcome that he really wants. And at the same time, seeing Henry, Nikki, and Althea able to do so much good and help so many people that he starts to get really disillusioned with the situation that he's in. And towards the end of the season, it gets he comes to a very interesting place where he's starting to question, you know, his role in the world. And I think that that's something that I'm really excited to follow on with in season 2. And yeah, I think it's time. Certainly by the end of the first season, you'll start to see the kid gloves come off with Evan.
Listen, and it's CW, so you know he may become a crime fighter by night. So
he may go off and train at Shaolin Temple for 3 years. And maybe I'll see you in season 5.
Yeah. Speaking of Nikki, you've mentioned, you know, one of the other things that came out in episode 7 is that both of them are not really over each other. So again, one of the questions that I'm not supposed to be asking you, and I'll try to walk carefully in that, but everything that everything that airs that is not on the cutting room floor, there is a reason for that. So it's a part of the storyline. So is there anything that you're able to safely share about that particular piece?
I think that there are definitely conversations to be had between Evan and Nikki. I think that the momentum that Nikki has found herself channeling since she came back to San Francisco is not really given those characters pause to reflect on them being back in each other's lives. And I think that as soon as, episode 7, as soon as next week, you may see some more answers to those questions for sure.
It was so perfect for me, just the look in Nikki's eyes when she looked at the bed. There didn't have to be any more conversation after that. We got it. She looked at the bed. We know what it means. Continue on. So I thought that was a beautifully done moment.
Really beautiful writing.
Yeah, it was very good. Okay, in terms of kind of the cast, and you guys did a fun bit with BuzzFeed of who's like the character, who works out, works out most. And again, I'll put all of these links below so guys don't have to search for it. You can just like. So everybody said that you work out the most out of everybody there. So that's cool. They did not ask the question, which I want to ask you, and without putting anybody else into a bad spot, I guess. Who do you think is the best martial artist of the cast?
Ooh, that's interesting. I mean, I definitely think that Eddie is the most experienced martial artist from what I've seen, because I mean, when they're training, Liv trains the hardest for sure. No offense, Eddie. So, but Olivia definitely trains the hardest because she has so much to do in such an intense period of time that she gets in. She seems to be able to just get it and do it. That's not to say that Eddie doesn't get it. I'm really walking myself into I'm digging myself a hole here. But I think that, in short, I think that from what I've seen, I think Eddie he's just a really experienced martial artist in various different styles, and the vocabulary of movement with which that he executes his stunts, it's just very clear that he has that innate kind of raw power that you develop in martial arts over time. Do you know what I mean? That explosive. It's like from the first class, from your first martial arts class, the whole training comes down to explosive power. And it's very clear that the way that Eddie executes his moves is there's just that kind of raw power there.
I saw that again. I think it was episode 2 or episode 3, one of those where there was that first fight when Nikki was trying to protect the store, and you just saw Eddie do one little thing, and it was they redirect, but he was like, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. So for me, that was a very cool part. All right. So he's the best martial artist, and
I think so. I'm sorry, everyone else. It's like, okay. And by the way, we're lucky enough that our stunt crew just blow everyone out of the water because they're just so talented.
Stunt guys are the stars. They really do not get enough credit, if
they do not
even call it credit, because they're amazing, and they are literally putting their lives on the line to do everything. And what we're looking at as viewers, we're looking at the incredible performances, and most of them, again, everything is shot and cut properly, but most of them, and the hard stuff, is the stunt guys. So
I have so Evan does have a stunt double, which may or may not give something away, but my stunt double Sean came in because I train at the stunts gym. I have I have 2 big duffel bags with training equipment, gym equipment that I take everywhere. And so I train at the stunts gym, and one day I came in and Sean is there with these 2 black eyes and bandages over his nose. I'm not sure he'd broken his nose or not. I think maybe he had. I was like, dude, what happened?
Yeah.
And he was doing a stunt for a different show, and he was just like, it was just heat of the moment, like, and someone didn't pull their punch, and I broke my nose. I'm like, that's part and parcel of their job every day, is to just get punched in the face, maybe. And it's so hardcore, and it's a travesty that they don't get more of a recognition in the industry, because
they need to. There needs to be an Oscar. There needs to be a lot more. I mean, do they have special kind of awards for stunt people? Not,
I think they do. I'm not sure which awards they do have, but I do know that they're not given the airtime that they should do in the, whichever awards is being aired. It's almost always, from what I've seen, an award that's given prior to the airing of the award ceremony. And I definitely think that they should be, as people
they do
that give so much of themselves to each role. I think that it's performances that do deserve to be recognized on an equal footing to any other actor.
Absolutely. One other thing that I forgot to mention, but that was a fun little call out in episode 7. Ludi Lin was there. I'm like, wait, hello. I was disappointed, and I don't know if I'm ruining anything for anybody, but if you just look on IMDb and you look on how many episodes people are in, Ludi Lin is in one episode. I'm like, wait, you're getting Ludi Lin and you're not letting him be Ludi Lin?
You don't set up Ludi Lin in the end of the last 5 minutes of an episode and just have him in that one episode.
Yeah, I would.
He'll be back.
Oh, good. I feel better. So it's just that the IMDb Pro has not been.
Yeah, the IMDb hasn't caught up.
Yeah, the episodes have not aired. Thank you. I feel much better about that, because Ludi's awesome, and he was great, and unfortunately, they didn't give him enough room in Mortal Kombat to actually do much this time around. But he's great, and he's legit martial artist.
Yeah, I haven't seen. Can I say this? No, I can't say that. But there are exciting scenes. How can I walk around this? There are exciting moments ahead that I have not been privy to. I haven't even, because of the pandemic, filming has been under tight regulations. So it's not like, if you're not in a scene, you can't just walk into the studio and watch. You have to have a reason to be there. And I have never had a reason to be in the same place as Ludi Lin, unfortunately. So I've seen him in passing at the trailers, but I've never had the chance to watch him and whoever he is working with do their thing. And I'm really excited to see that. I'm really excited.
Well, we know who he's working with, because based on who's in the car at the same moment.
Sure, but it didn't come from me. I mean, it's there, but I just I don't want to say anything.
Yeah, and Yvonne, by the way, is a very powerful actress. It was cool to see. Her accent is awesome. It works and adds more power to the character. So I thought that was a really good choice, and I'm glad you guys said in BuzzFeed that she is unlike she in real life is most unlike the character.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's a testament to Yvonne's performance that I've seen, at least on Twitter, I've seen so much love for Jilan. She's a hero that you really love to kind of cheer on, even though she's the complete antithesis of Nikki. I think that that's a really difficult balance to tread as an actor, and Yvonne does it so well. And I think that's a testament to the support that she has within the Kung Fu fandom, is that you don't necessarily love to hate her, but you just can't help rooting for her because she's just so cool.
After episode 6 for me, because I was conflicted, but after episode 6, where she had a chance to kill Nikki, she didn't. I'm like, okay, there's more happening there. I feel better about it. So that was my progression.
That scene between Jilan and Nikki as well, when Jilan takes the dagger back, is just so beautifully crafted and executed by Liv and Yvonne. That was one of my. I think that was my favorite moment of episode 6. Actually, watching that exchange happen, because there's that kind of jeopardy of of having these unbelievably high stakes playing in a situation where they cannot be seen to be observed by anyone else. Like Jin is right over there, and Mei Li is right over there, and this whole thing happens, and the Liv and Yvonne do it so well, and it's shot so beautifully with both of them on the same screen, and it's just really wonderful composition of film, and I love that moment.
Perfect. As we wrap up, and again, I know you guys are, season 2 has been picked up. That's what I'm trying to say. How much do you know of season 2? Actually, that is going to lead you down a bad path. So I'll ask it differently.
I was about to say.
What would you like to see from Evan in season 2? And hopefully it's not something that you already read.
Well, there's definitely a moment at the end of this season where Evan has a paradigm shift, where his world is put into perspective. And I think that what's exciting for me moving on, and having spoken with a couple of the producers about it, I'm excited for Evan to really find his maturity, or find his darker side, because I think that Evan is in the stage of life where he's at. He's very he sees things in black and white when life is gray, and I think that he's trying to conform these very difficult issues into boxes where they don't fit or they don't belong. And I think that the realization that the world is not, you can have these ideals, but if you're the only person who has those ideals, you're not going to get anywhere, because the world doesn't work like that. And I think that that Evan will definitely start to realize this, and I'll be interested in season 2 to see how far Evan is willing to go to make positive change in the world that he's in the American criminal system.
Yeah. It's a great show. I'm really happy that it's out there, and the cast is doing a terrific job. I think Liv, I've seen some of the stuff kind of behind the scenes. Liv seems like a riot. She
has the best behind the scenes stuff. Yeah, Liv is, she's definitely a riot. She's also probably the only person that would throw me under the bus for farting on set once in front of her. She literally threw me under the bus on national television for that. But it's natural, it happens, and
Yeah. No, well, that's once in front of her. How many times did it happen when she didn't notice?
I mean, I'm gonna move away. I don't fart in front of people, but if I'm on set for a long time, I'm not gonna hold it in. Like, I will walk away and do my business and then come back. And I'm not ashamed of it. I'm not gonna apologize. It's natural. It's natural, everyone. That's me telling myself that I'm not doing the wrong thing.
All you need to do is just record when Olivia does it, and I'm sure it's going to happen at some point.
Yeah. I've got some embarrassing footage, but I'm just saving it up.
Perfect. Thank you, Gavin, for coming on. I really appreciated our talk. Best of luck with the show.
Thank you.
And I'm very happy that I'm not able to ask a lot of the questions that I want to ask, because I don't want to ruin anything for myself watching it further.
Thank you so much, Alan. It's been a pleasure to be with you.
Thank you. And thanks for everybody, for joining us in another episode of Let's Dive In. We really hope that you enjoy the show as well. If you have not watched Kung Fu, please click right below the video and go watch it immediately. Take care, everybody.